Welcome back to As Told by You. We have a great guest today. Excited to finally get Fox on. We have met several months ago at Professionals on the Patio, and kind of fascinated by his look and all of that. I said I got to meet this guy who's intentionally wearing a mullet, and so we got to kind of talk about that a little bit. Fox has a
it was an accident.
Fox has a company called Gadget Boy. They do electronics and other things, and I'll let you talk a little bit about that. But thanks, Fox, for coming on.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Was it at Professionals on the Patio?
I think it was.
I think it might have been. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do a lot of. That's a lot to do with my job is just a lot of networking and community outreach. So they can kind of meld together. My name is Fox Black. I own a company called Gadget Boy. It's right on Divine Street, right next to Peacewise Coffee in the 5 Points area. We mainly specialize in repair of technology more than probably any of the other things that we focus on. So that could be anywhere between phones, computers, sound bars. I mean, it really ranges from a lot. I like to tell my employees that we are in the business of the solution. So actually last week we started taking on a ton of contracts for drone repair. Now, my technicians, are getting their feet wet now. They're learning the tricks of the trade and they have the time to do it. So, I guess we're doing drone repairs and we're getting like maybe 2 or 3 of them like a day at this point. So
wow.
It's kind of crazy how like our SEO is routing that, very quickly.
So is DJI not doing drone repair anymore? Because I've had a bunch repaired over the years, but I always send it to DJI. So.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm just assuming that like either these are, because we're working with another company right now, and I can't quite disclose them quite yet because we're still getting our feet wet, but they are sending us the contracts that they can't handle themselves, as in like they're the ones that are just in the queue so far back that they just need some relief. So they've been sending us like a good bit of this stuff. But it's a great example of how my company can really just integrate into most tech fields, because we're not constrained. We don't have any constraints by any corporate entity or anything.
Well, and at the times that I've had my drones repaired, and drone repairs typically are not like little repairs.
No way. Yeah, I've only been looking at it for the past week, and there's a lot going on in there.
They get smashed.
Yeah.
And several times I've had drone repairs. I've put all the pieces in a box and sent it back to them and said, please just put it back together for me.
Yeah.
And it can be real pricey to get them fixed too. And
that's kind of like what we're seeing. Like, most of the time in like the repair business, or at least places that focus on repair, it's really about the labor cost than it is about the part cost.
Yeah.
Now, I have access to most distributors on the planet, if not all of them. Basically, I've hired someone, and her job is to just have a relationship with all distribution centers to warehouses to wholesalers. It's just really, she's kind of like someone that I can communicate with.
Yeah.
And be like, hey, I'm getting into drone repair. These are the parts that I need. And, she's probably one of my favorite people that I pay.
Well, we'll say back in the day, they didn't used to work very well.
Yeah.
So they would crash on their own a good bit. It would just, there were no proximity sensors or any of that stuff. And so you would just run into a building, or a lot of times the inner technology would just take off.
Oh yeah.
And so you'd be flying along normally, and it would just go whoosh, and it would run into a tree. And I had 4 or 5 instances of those. Not so much lately. They've gotten a lot better. But since DJI is not allowed to import right now, it's
interesting. Yeah. So that's
an interesting environment,
and that's definitely like knowledge that I didn't even know about. I didn't know that DJI wasn't currently.
Yeah, there's an injunction against DJI by the federal government, and now of course you have tariffs and all that stuff that make it a little bit more difficult. But we are in need of a new drone, and DJI is not selling any of their current models
Interesting.
in the U.S. So anything that you can buy here is already here.
Okay.
And so any of the new stuff is not available in the U.S.
Is that like just your preferred brand, or is that just kind of how it works?
Honestly, they just make them real good.
Okay.
And I've been using them for a long time. I imagine some other company probably makes a decent drone. I just haven't. What happens is in the industry, in our industry at least, like you get a sense of what people are using, right? Okay. And so camera wise or, you know, like audio wise, whatever, you know, one of the reasons I use Shure mics is because I see Shure mics all over the place, right? Mm-hmm. So if I got some indication that that some other company was all of a sudden making great mics, I would know it because everybody'd be using them, right? And so that's the same thing with the drones. It's like, you know, if there was another company that was going to come out and surpass DJI, and because look, the market's there. DJI is the only one making a real viable professional drone for our level, at least. I mean, if you want to spend 10, 15 grand on one, you can get better ones, but it's, you know, for a decent consumer drone, you know, DJI is the only game in town. And so, you know, as those things change, we find out about them because other people are using them. I would run into friends of mine who say, "Hey, have you looked at this drone?" Or I'd see reviews on YouTube, whatever, and I haven't seen anything in competition. It would seem like an American company could make a decent drone.
Yeah, make a decent one. I mean, you know, just how popular they are. Like now,
the whole conflict is China, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and that's where like another portion of my company actually dabbles in as well. So we actually do retail as well. So we have the ability to source mostly anything, either through this same woman using distribution, using anything in particular. I will say that like when it comes down to like buying stuff new, I mean, I actually like through this last year of trial and error through figuring out, you know, what Gadget Boy is, I definitely have seen I have a lot more respect for companies like Apple and companies like Amazon, and most video game companies and most major console companies, because I mean they've really like made it so that like you can't get these things unless you're literally buying them directly from them.
Right.
So, you know, for any PlayStation, Xbox, for example, I mean, even the big retailers like Best Buy, GameStop, all of them, I mean, they're getting paid pennies, you know, for selling this stuff. I mean, and it's a great business model on their end, and America loves Apple. But the good news about America loving Apple is most of the time you can go and get like a refurbished one from like there's a company in Greenville that I used very early on. They basically distribute most of my Apple products called Tech Replay, and they have like A/B quality products there for like, let's say the newest like 2025 MacBook laptop. Yeah. And A/B quality means that someone returned it or sold it, but I mean they probably just looked at the box, saw that it was the wrong color, and stuff like that. So
well, the demand is so incredibly high, and
massively.
I think that's what happens with the video game systems is they have to make a great system, right? I've seen that happen, right? Sega was the king of the hill with Genesis, or not? Was it Genesis? And then they came out with that next one, Dreamcast. Nobody bought it because it wasn't that good.
Strange,
right? Yeah. And so Xbox and Sony have to keep their game up, you know. But as long as they're keeping their game up, the demand is giant. Same thing with Apple. I mean, you know, so you get the ability to say nobody can touch my stuff.
Oh yeah,
except me when there's a lot of demand, right?
And like even when it comes down to like either proprietary parts for them or like, you know, the actual parts that are required to like repair like an iPhone 16, for instance. I mean, most of the time we have to buy those directly from Apple.
Oh yeah,
and like it's definitely shown me that, you know, the prices that they've monopolized the market, so they can make the prices whatever they want.
And they made, you know, what's funny is from a phone perspective, they've made them so desirable to people without having to prove out the technology as being better or anything like that. They just make them desirable. Yeah. And I think that's fascinating. the idea that right now a lot of the components and functionality of an Android phone is about the same as an Apple
about the
phone.
same, yeah.
And people just decide I'm an Apple person or I'm an Android person.
Yeah,
and
that's that's a major reason why I actually respect them, is because even when it comes down to their marketing, I mean, look at it from like a third person, non-biased perspective looking in.
Yeah.
Like
Innovative.
it's a white background with just the product on it, regular gray font, and that's it.
Yeah.
Like that's all they need. It's the simplest marketing on the planet, but clean, regal. It makes it look like it's the apple that's worth taking a bite out of.
And then any other addictive thing, once you start using it, you get used to the way it works.
Oh yeah.
And so it's difficult. It would be very difficult for me to take. I'm an Android person, as you might imagine.
Yeah, I am as well.
It would be difficult for me to take an iPhone and functionally use it well. Like it would, but like Brian has had an iPhone forever. It'd be difficult for me to hand you an Android and you to get any good use out of it.
Yeah.
You know?
I don't see it that way at all.
No?
No. I mean, I can get on a Windows computer and operate that. I can get on my Mac.
But
and
you've been
operate
doing Windows and Mac OSs for a while. It's very difficult for me to pick up a Mac OS and not have my fingers go right to the Windows hotkeys and stuff, and it's like
Sure.
It's a physical addiction thing. Like your fingers go to the right spot. So on my phone, there's a back button that's in the bottom right hand corner. If I want to go back, I'm going for that back button, right?
And I think you all have to swipe, correct? Like or something like just to kind of go back. Like but I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. It's contextual, right? So on the Android phone, I think it's always in the same spot. And so, look, am I smart enough to be able to use an iPhone eventually? Yes.
Yeah.
Would it be fun for me to switch? No, because I'm used to where everything is, and so I know where my settings are. I know how to do all the little things, and but I think they know that that's what happens because we use these things more than we use just about anything, right? And we get to where our hand placement is guaranteed, Well, so let's roll it back a little bit. Talk about how you got into this.
Oh man,
how does someone get into doing this kind of stuff?
It is a wild ride. Okay, so I guess so as far as my background goes and what I was working in beforehand, I really didn't start getting my life together. I'm 32 now. I really didn't start getting my life together until I was probably about 25. I ran away from home when I was 17, and I never went back. And I went up to Vermont for some reason, and got very intense culture shock out there. But I was also.
Where was your home before you ran
From
away?
here?
I grew up in Philly.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So Vermont is not that far.
Philly
Not
to
that
Vermont,
far.
not South Carolina to Vermont. Okay,
No,
gotcha.
nothing like that.
South Carolina to Vermont at 17 is that's a feat.
You're running away.
That's an achievement.
Yeah. My biological mother has lived in Hilton Head virtually for my entire childhood.
Oh, okay.
So I would go back and forth a good
So were you
bit.
adopted or were you in foster?
No, both my parents they got a divorce when I was probably around 4 or 5, something like that. So my biological mother lived in Hilton Head. My dad moved to Pennsylvania, right on the outskirts of Trenton. So basically inside of Philly, was where I went to school. So moving forward, I struggled a lot with drug addiction, from a very young age. My parents, I grew up in a very, very strong, moral, influential in a positive way household. My parents are and were very good people. I was definitely the problem. So 100%. So from a very young age, I was struggling with hard drugs. And when I ran away, it got worse. I actually went to this national outdoor leadership program right after high school, and I sea kayaked, sailed, and rock climbed in Vancouver for 3 months straight. I mean, I lived on a sailboat for 3 months essentially, and we just traveled all around, went island hopping, and I met this guy. His name was Tomas, and that was about a 3-month excursion. I went back to Vermont for a small spell, And then he invited me to the UK. He lived in Leeds. And so I scrounged some money together and I went out there, and I was supposed to be there for about a week. And then I just never got back on the plane. So I lived there for about a year. I worked for Marlboro cigarettes and Malibu rum. And I was like a party promoter. I just hang out on the street and hand off cigarettes and shots to like adults, young teens. You know, the drinking age was very lax in Leeds.
Right.
So I did that until I had to start traveling onto the mainland to go to Amsterdam for some things. And basically their government found out that I was staying there illegally, and they actually formally deported me back to the United States.
Wow.
So
that is quite a story.
Yeah, it's been a wild ride. I came back and I moved to Atlanta, and I actually went to medical school out there. I worked as an EMS in a program while I was going through medical school out there. I didn't survive very long. It was I probably put about a year into like actual EMS work. I was still struggling pretty hard with addiction, and also it just wasn't for me. You know, it was in the heart of Atlanta. I was based out of Emory. It was insane out there. So then I just kind of worked restaurant, retail, you know, for a few years. And one day, you know, I just kind of decided to, when I was 21, I got arrested on Hilton Head Island. And I spent about 2 weeks in jail. And then that was the last time I ever like used or drank or did anything. So
how long ago was that?
11 years. So
okay.
I've had 11 years sobriety.
Nice. Well, congratulations on that.
Yeah, it's been cool as hell. I made the decision very early on that like just because I stopped drinking and using doesn't mean like the dope man and the bars are going to close their doors. So I found like what works for me. I don't know a lot of people that have been able to keep up sobriety as long as I have from a young age, but it's I always try to send them to like the same sort of places, such as like, you know, AA, stuff like that. You know, the stuff that, you know, works for some people or doesn't work for others.
Just behavioral change.
Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely. Also, it had to be my choice. I mean, everything that my family and friends were telling me not to do, I had to go through it myself to actually understand what they were talking about.
Wow.
But, you know, it took me a few years, even after I got sober when I was 21, to kind of get my life together. I was working for this restaurant in Savannah called Better Than Sex. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. Okay.
It's great.
I got like this award from them after my first year, and it was like #1 server. Like it was like this plaque. It was awesome.
I can totally see you working there.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
It was so fun. I could literally make fun of these people like directly to their face.
Brian, it's a dessert place.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's very suggestive. Everything is very suggestive when you go in there. It's very dark.
Yeah.
And all of the booths are like kind of, you know, secluded a little bit.
Yeah.
And
You just can kind of make fun of them like directly to their face. It's kind
the
of like that.
The waiters are like seductive towards the guests, and
Yeah.
it
was fun. It
wild.
was really fun. Yeah, it was a good time.
It's worth a trip. You know,
Maybe
just
next time
try
I'm
it
in
out.
Savannah.
Yeah,
Not the kids. Don't take the kids. But
so I took this award home, and I remember just kind of looking at it and just realizing that like I'm holding myself to a standard that I am not actually doing what I want to be doing, and I think that every day that I put into working a job that I'm not passionate about is just prolonging the process of actually trying it. So this is so strange, I know, but this is how I had to come about it. I just told myself first I quit the job. I immediately quit the job on the spot, basically the day after that I got that award, and I put a fire under my ass to figure it out. And basically I just put it in my head that if I want to work a job, like what's the one job that I would love to work at, and they're going to teach me how to do it anyway, regardless if I have school or not. Or what if I actually just worked and got up early and was a little uncomfortable and saved my money and like actually sought after my future instead of waiting for it to come to me. And Lord and behold, it's way quicker than just waiting for it to come to you. Like, so I just tried it for a year, and the years kept going. I eventually landed a gig working as like an HVAC guy for this one company, and they had a few like what's it called? Contracts with like the military, like inside of military bases. And so I actually got pretty close to one of the feds out there, and at this military base right outside of, it's in Beaufort County.
Mm-hmm.
And he kind of just told me about this sort of technical engineering program that I could go through. And lo and behold, like within probably 72 hours of talking to this guy and applying for this position, I was full on working for the Department of Defense,
Wow.
specifically with the NSA. Now, there's not a lot I can talk about what it is that I actually did for them, but it was just like a glorified technical engineer type of thing. I would sort of audit, but I did have access to all military bases and most government facilities, like in the U.S.
Huh.
But I would be gone for so long. I mean, there were days where I would have jobs that lasted, or there were jobs that I had that would last for like a month, and I wouldn't even be home.
Wow.
So it was very debilitating over time to keep that up. And there was this one particular job where I was basically awake for about 4 days straight, and ever since then, I actually haven't really been able to like sleep well. I actually don't really sleep probably more than around like 4 hours a night.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm up all hours due to that job, but I guess kind of fast forwarding, I met an individual while I was working that job who worked for corporate AT&T, and once again, I kind of shifted gears over to what maybe like a more cubicle style work environment looked like. They signed me on. I was a recruiter for the corporate level, so I did a lot of traveling to Miami in particular. They did a lot of job corporate stuff there for AT&T. Also in Savannah, where I was living, there was a lot of AT&T activity going on. So I was kind of jumping between those two cities, and then it was all very remote. I was really good at it. I ended up leaving Savannah, and I bought a house in Charleston, and the day, like about maybe 3 or 4 days after I moved in, AT&T contacted me and said that they needed me to start coming into the office. And so, I'm in Charleston, so I started commuting back and forth for
To
a little
Savannah?
while. Yeah, to Savannah.
Okay. That's a trick.
Yeah, definitely. And then the next thing I know, I'm kind of back in the same position where I just kind of like screwed myself and was like, all right, I'm just going to quit this, give them my 2 weeks, and then I'm going to find something else that more fits my style. I got a job at a perfume laboratory in Charleston. It was down. Basically, what they do is they bring people in, and people as in patrons, and they can make their own colognes, perfumes, stuff like that. It's more of an experience thing. Yeah. And so they wanted me to kind of run certain aspects of that. But when I did my first day of working over there and teaching the classes and all that, I excelled at it. And the owner told me about Gadget Boy. Gadget Boy was a company that he had just started, with 2 other business partners. And he asked me if I could come and check on it and see what was going on. And when I came into Gadget Boy, this was over a year ago, I guess, at this point.
This is in Columbia?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I started commuting back and forth, just in a different direction. And basically, the business partner that was supposed to be running the operations, or just the owner operator.
Yeah.
He it's very clear that he was really good at talking, but he wasn't really good at knowing what to do.
Mm-hmm.
So he ended up getting into some hot water, and then basically the way it all panned out was that I was the only one that could take over. And so after all the drama settled, after we lost a business partner, I bought in to be a partner, and I basically just kind of built it all from scratch. So I didn't have a lot of experience with this volume when I was starting, but that has been the biggest lesson to me this year, is that if I don't know how to do something, it's probably just smarter that I just learn how to do it. And I don't really care if it takes a while to figure it out. I can just juggle the whole thing if I have to. And I did that for the first few months, and I kept my head down, and I just really tried to like think about what it is that people wanted and what a business plan actually looks like. And I kitchen sinked it for a while, but now it's a very broad, and we have the manpower and we have the funds and we have the experience that I think is getting closer to the vision that I have in my head. During our 1 year anniversary, the senator came in and gave us 2 awards, and they were signed, by our local government, and they're very beautiful plaques. And to my business partners, my employees, this is like a huge deal, and I think it is too. Don't get me wrong. Like, it basically states that we're just a pillar of what Columbia embodies, and we're the only one in Columbia that got that their first year. So it's very amazing, but in my head, I'm not there yet. So like, I'm probably going to be working at this for like a while, but now we've entered into upgrading other businesses, whether they're larger or corporate entities or government entities. Like, we're upgrading their businesses to like integrate their day-to-day operations with AI. So, and that's like, those are huge contracts that we have.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it
So
really,
the guy in Charleston still own it?
Yeah, he's still here. He owns actually like a few of those perfumeries. That's mainly his big thing. Is he works in insurance. He has he's the head of operations for an insurance company. He specializes also in Airbnbs. He owns a few of them in the city, and then I think he has about 7 perfume laboratories or experiences.
So from Philly to Vermont to England to Amsterdam to Atlanta to Savannah to Beaufort to Charleston to Columbia.
Yeah.
Tell me why Columbia is a place to land.
Absolutely. So this is actually just kind of where I by all definitions, like, this
It's
is
really
where,
just the next stop.
I mean, that's
actually
more
don't
cities
know
than
about
I've
that.
visited. I don't.
Gadget Boy Global.
So I do like, and we are in talks of like opening up another location in Nashville right now. But I will say that Columbia is, out of all those places I've lived, this is my favorite. Like, and a lot of people are confused by that, but like, I find this to be a very healthy city, an inclusive city, and they really do. I don't know, and it's so easy to drive in. I like Columbia. Like, compared to the other places that I lived, like, I'll probably end up buying property here, and this is where my first shop's going to be, and that'll probably be my baby. But I do want to move it more forward, like in other locations and other bigger cities, because I'd rather invest the money aggressively with high foot traffic and knowing that the location's good, than like maybe going into like West Columbia.
Well, the split that I find on Columbia is very interesting, because people that grew up here generally say, I don't really like it here. You can't really get anything done. People that have tried something somewhere else and have ended up here are always like, I love Columbia. It's so inclusive. I've heard inclusive so many times. It's hilarious. I mean, but like, I've heard from other people who are born here, that they're like, Columbia, and I'm like, I never lived anywhere else really. I mean, I lived in Aiken for a little while. Grew up in Winsboro, but I've lived here for longer than I've lived anywhere else.
Yeah, my dad grew up here. He like grew up in this city, and it's funny, I didn't really even know it when I moved here. But randomly one day, probably about a year ago, I had, obviously just moved into that house in Charleston. I just I was coming here so often, and I was staying here for like weeks at a time. I called a junk removal service, and I just told them to like take all my stuff out of there. And then I sold the house. So like, I just got rid of everything, and then I restarted. And then honestly, it was pretty cathartic. I actually don't really own too much still, and I kind of like it that way, at least for the time being.
Talk about that ability a little bit, because that seems like a thread through your story, which is like, I moved here, I didn't really like that, so I did this thing.
There's always been like a struggle, maybe I don't know, maybe I'm trying to prove something to myself, but my independence has always been like probably the thing that I value the most. And even when it comes down to the clothes and the look and being in like in a more structured environment, corporate types, I unapologetically try to be myself. Yeah. Like at the end of the day.
I heard somebody last week, and this is Matt Vady said this at the 1 Million Cups. He said, the less you know, the more formal you have to dress.
Mm-hmm.
So
I totally
once you
get
learn, once you learn more and you have more to give, you can dress however you want.
Yeah.
Which I think is an interesting idea. I'm not sure it's true.
Yeah, but honestly,
but
like I think that that's at least like, at least for my perspective on how I've gone about this, like I would subscribe to that. Like, I think that that's what works for me. And in a room full of Bobs, you're going to remember Fox. But also at the same time, I don't want to pretend like it's appropriate in all settings. Like I was at the governor's mansion for New Year's, and I mean, I didn't have like a nice suit like they did.
Yeah.
And so it led me to go get a nice suit. So
Right.
I can clean up, but I don't know.
You had to buy something though, so
Yeah, man.
that took a little bit out of him.
We're just gonna rent a suit,
he rented it.
Yeah. Perry over at Britain's, they're great. So
How long has your style evolved? Obviously, yes, people's style evolves.
I will
over
say
lives,
that
but
even this year, I think that it's kind of even doubled down. So the mullet is probably about 5 years old. I was very I think we were talking about this at Professionals on the Patio, but like I read a lot of sci-fi. I'm very, very nerdy. Like, I mean, I got Star Trek tattoos. I mean, I'm for some nerd stuff, like, and
which used to be a bad thing.
I know.
So like when I was a kid, that was a bad thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Somebody called you a nerd, you were like, I'm not. You take it back, right? But now calling somebody a nerd is like saying, oh, you're quite successful and individualist.
Well, I guess it shows like an air of intelligence in some way, shape, or form. But like, it's so funny now because like I totally agree with that. I was a very strange kid, and if looking back, hindsight being 2020, I don't think I would interact with me. And like, it's funny to see how it has like evolved. Like I was a crew cut, for up until probably about 25.
Oh, wow.
Like, no mustache, no nothing. And then I just kind of like found that people actually don't treat me any different depending on how I dress. And if I show value in like a conversation, I show that I have a good moral compass and that I'm, I have my own goals, but like I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with that. And like, it's
well, I think when it reflects your personality, it works, right? And so like the boring way I dress reflects my personality. So like nobody's expecting too much out of me based on how I dress, right? And but like if you inherit it, if you say, hey, look, I've got a bold look, but I'm gonna live that bold look.
Yeah.
I think that works.
So do you feel like you live the bold look?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. And I think like I think I actually push more towards like the more edgy, the better. Like in the sense of, I can stand out. But when it comes down to like having a conversation with like, let's say, there was an example. I was at one of the bank's corporate events, and I was with a buddy of mine, and we walk up to a very important and high-ranking individual in a particular bank here in Columbia, and he goes up to him, my friend, and shakes his hand. But I've known this individual as well for like a while, and it's more of like a less uptight hello.
Yeah,
it's like a fist pound. It's like a blah blah blah, and it's.
I bet they love you at a bank party.
Yeah, I mean,
you walk into a bank party, they're like, oh, look at that, that's interesting.
Yeah,
and everybody else is kind of the same, right?
Yeah, and I think that's like where like I've been able
your personal
to
brand.
And I like it, and I think that it's something that I try to teach my employees as well. When it comes down to, if you're going to stand out, make sure that you're standing out in the right way, and don't like obviously like go too hard on it. But like we were talking about earlier, the like city council, for instance, like I will definitely go in this outfit. Everyone else in there won't be in like, something like this, but it's refreshing to know that I already know them and that I can shake hands with them.
Well, and that's one thing about Columbia too, is that if you have, maybe not from a personal brand perspective, but if people know you, right? And this is one thing that Brian and I find all over the place, is that he has his circle. We talked about this a lot. He has his circle from the things that he's done, with football, with youth sports with Hammond, with the kids, whatever it is, with all his business things with real estate and all that. And then I have my circle, from photography and video and from, weddings and from all that stuff. Between the two of us, we've got to know just about everybody, right?
It feels like it sometimes.
Because we've been doing it for so long in Columbia. And I think that's one of the things that you get in a small market that you wouldn't get in Miami or whatever. Yeah. There's a lot of moving in and out of a big city like that, where with Columbia, people tend to stay here, and they don't necessarily always stay here because they feel like they have to. Sometimes, a lot of times, people come here and say, "Hey, like you were saying, I like this place compared to all of the rest of the places that I've lived." Right.
Yeah. So this is what I've been trying to convince my brother-in-law for about a year and a half.
Right.
And they live in San Diego, Poway, California, right outside of San Diego.
Yeah.
And my sister's miserable in her job. They got 2 kids. They don't have time for anything. He is a tax attorney working for a giant accounting firm that basically goes into like major companies and like, here's how you navigate your tax situation, right? And so he works from home, meaning he can work anywhere. And he's like refusing to move to Columbia because he has some crazy idea from his mom, who has now passed away, that, everyone in the South is racist. Everyone in the South is this or that, or, going to force me to go to church. And and he can't get it. And the whole time we have been, my older sister and I have been kind of pushing this because my younger sister's miserable. Like, why are you torturing yourself living in a place that's causing you misery? Come here and
try it out.
It'll solve almost all of your problems. And we're always like, okay. And I've been going about it logically, like, here are the logical things that you could do and why it's better to live here than there. I mean, doesn't matter, because it's all about the feeling of what is it like. I don't like the idea of living in Columbia and the feelings.
I think it's funny, because like my mom, so this is what moms do. My mom said when I was a teenager, I was going to go to New York for a trip. She's like, I really don't want you to go to New York. I was like, well, why? She said, well, because you're going to get robbed. I said, well, who's going to rob me? Like, I'm a teenager from South Carolina. Like, I look like a teenager from South Carolina. Nobody's going to think I have anything. So they're not going to rob me. It's not like there's just instant robbing when you walk into Manhattan, right?
Yeah, no.
You come up out of the subway and
weird stuff,
just get robbed,
Yeah.
But she had me terrified. I was going to New York for the first time. I came up out of the subway and I'm like, okay, where are the robbers?
Yeah.
And that's not how it works, right?
No, God, no. I mean, well, yes, but no.
Yeah, I mean, it can be, right? Yeah. I mean, look, if you go into the wrong neighborhood and try to buy drugs, you might get into trouble, right? Yeah. And that's almost any city, right?
Yeah.
But I think, I think the interesting thing is that what I hear from people in Columbia is that, a lot of the inclusivity conversation is important, right? That Fox can look different. You look different. Fox can look different than everybody else, right? Which means that when you meet Fox, if he's a boring dude who could barely talk to you, then he belies his look, right? Yeah. But he's not, right? So he's interesting to talk to. And so I think if you have those things about you where you can be genuine and you can, interface with people in that way, I think Columbia is an extremely accepting place for just about anybody. And
I would definitely agree, wholeheartedly. Being in Savannah, I was there for a few years. It's very diverse, and it's extremely diverse. And that art school, makes it so that everyone wants to be an individual.
Right.
So they all dress in a certain way, they all act a certain way. But in that, it makes them all fit in.
That's what I was about to say. Which then makes them their own little.
It makes them all fit in, and it's so funny because I found that the cities like Philly and Savannah, the ones who tend to be the more geared towards like geared towards rights or something more on the political spectrum of things, those areas tend to be the ones that are the most diversified or like split.
Yeah,
like
right.
I don't know how to explain it.
Divided.
Like
Divided.
Yes. The ones where it's a constant topic of conversation actually inherently, I think, gives it a little bit more of a negative.
Well, and I love that the more I meet people, you know, around here, one of the reasons I love going to professionals on the patio is because at that event, I don't know anybody.
Yeah.
Right. And I know you guys now. I've met Bensy Beals there, and
Yeah, she's great.
you know, Jonathan and met Colt finally a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, all of them. All the guys are great.
And all of these people I'm starting to meet, but like this is a whole circle of people that I've never met, and it's strange to me, right? If I go to a city council meeting, or if I go to, you know, I'm going to run into people that I know that are the kind of the usual suspects that show up at everything. But I find that when I talk to people individually, there's almost never a time where I get into a conversation with somebody or I talk to them about their opinions or their beliefs or the way that they do, where we can't find common ground somewhere. And I think that's how it should be. And so, you know, I think Columbia is a really interesting place for that. Talk about going to city council meetings. Talk about that. Tell me the motivation for kind of getting to aware of that stuff and what's going on with that.
Yeah. So I guess there's probably a broad answer, and then there's probably a very small answer. So one, I will say that it's something that I don't have a lot of knowledge about. I actually do not have a lot of political knowledge. I've refrained, I feel like, in my life from most political knowledge in general, mostly because of I didn't want to have to pick a side, or I didn't care enough, or it just pushed me into a direction to where I was feeling more negative about things than anything else. So I never, it's like sports for me. You know, I was no gym class hero growing up in high school. I know it's surprising to you, but
that is a surprise.
I know.
I can't.
I wouldn't be able to tell you there.
Not me, really. I figured, you know, the crew cut and the running probably.
That's right. All of that.
He was
right?
rebelling against that.
I was that kid in school that like gave the dodgeball to the kids who did know how to throw.
Right.
And then I would just hide.
Yeah.
You know, coward stuff.
Hit that guy. I'll be back here.
I'd be like, I'll get you another ball, man. I got you. Like, so as far as city council goes, it's literally as basic as I can put it. It's exposure. I don't have the knowledge about it, and I think that the best way to do it is that I just show up and just try to understand, and then try to meet people that could potentially teach me down the line. Growing up there, I think that, you know, some of the being in Philly and more liberal type of cities, they do a lot of protesting, and they do a lot of like, you know, the citizens and the communities tend to be very loud when they speak. But, you know, and I nothing against them. It's just, I guess, a personal perspective of exposure that I've had in my life. I haven't really seen too much change with certain things. And so I've pushed, like, so what I'm trying to do right now, and I'll probably try this for, you know, a few years or for the rest of my life, I'm not too sure, but I'm just going to put myself into a position, if I want to make a change, I'm just going to put myself into a position to, or at least to attempt to get into a position to do so. My political knowledge is still very limited. I do keep up with very modern worldly events, and I don't tell anybody about it. Like, I just keep all of this very close to my chest, because I find that a lot of the individuals that I've interacted with who tend to be the more passionate ones about it tend to be the loudest, but not necessarily the most educated with it. And that's just, you know, a particular few people that had a lot of power and influence and a voice, but I didn't know if the information was right. So for me, what I want to do with the city council is I just go to all of their meetings. I go into the lobby. I try to talk to people, and I tell them the truth. I tell them that I don't know what a lot to do, or I don't have a lot of political knowledge, or I don't know what the hell they were just talking about for 45 minutes straight.
Sure.
But I would like to be invaluable in the city, and I would like to have a reputation of just melding, you know, we all live in society. We all reap the defects and the benefits of it, as, citizens. And I'd love to see what it's like on both sides. And I would love to maybe try to figure out some more basic things before we start doing small maintenance. Like, I will always stand by, I think we should try to figure out how to get clean water and food to people before we start figuring out some of the smaller maintenance stuff. But I think that it just requires a few people to, come together and maybe figure it out. If we learned anything through this Diddy trial, it's one man can make a lot of difference.
Well, golly. Yeah. I don't think we've ever said on the podcast if there's one thing I learned from the Diddy trial.
Well, it's just
I don't think that's ever come up.
We haven't had too many episodes since it ended.
No, that's true. That's true.
So you kind of hinted at there might be something that you want to change.
Yeah, that I would love to see.
Like, what is that? What is that change that you want to see?
I think it's
change in what?
Yeah, it's definitely more fundamental things. Like I really am passionate about. I just don't. There's so much out there that talks about what's wrong, but I've always had a trouble melding the two worlds of my digital life and my actual what I'm seeing on a day-to-day life.
Yeah.
Like I'm only exposed to what I'm seeing, and most of the time I'm hearing and reading horrible things about how society is, but it's not what I'm actually seeing. But then again, it's a perspective thing, and I'm never going to blame anybody for how they feel, because I hope one day I live in a world where it's given back. But I would love to, if I could make a change, I just would love to see the importance of what educating yourself can do, what 5 minutes a day of reading can actually do. If you don't know how to fix your toilet from being clogged, I don't know, maybe open it up, and see how it works. I mean, you never know what it could do. And I think that fundamentally on an education level, that's where I would want to make the most impact. Financial literacy is something that no one teaches.
No.
And that's, I think, in my perspective, I think America doesn't want everyone to be poor. They're just not going to tell you how to do it. And
Right.
I probably wouldn't tell anybody how to do it either if I was on top.
See, part of my educational journey is knowing that when I open up the toilet, it does not go back together.
Yeah.
I'm educated in the fact that I know that I'm not going to do it.
The core of what he's talking about is curiosity.
Curiosity, yeah.
And
instead of judgment, right? And so don't be judgmental, be curious, like
the lack of
Ted Lasso.
Yeah. And the lack of the thing that's missing in our education system is the pursuit of curiosity.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly in the public schools. Now, the private schools want you to think that they're trying to get all this curiosity out of kids, and that's the way it works. But is it really happening?
Mm-hmm.
I think
It's hard to measure.
I think it's also a natural trait.
Mm-hmm.
Kids are naturally curious.
Yeah.
Some kids aren't.
Well,
Some
young minds
kids
strive
grow
for
up
action.
into adults and are still naturally curious. Some people don't.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And again, I can't blame anybody for how they think, especially if it's not aligning with, there has to be a reason. I think that the moral road is always someone that we like to talk about, the moral road, but when it's not taken, what are the ramifications? Is it truly just a lust for power, money, or greed, or whatever it is? But when I do a fair amount of work with the Epworth Society. It's right down the street from my shop.
Sure.
And
It's a great cause.
yeah, and it's, but also it's hard. It's hard to watch sometimes. But one thing that I have realized is that a lot of them are hyper intelligent. Actually, all of them are hyper intelligent. It's because they have the life experience, just like I do. And I can see the value of going to jail for 2 weeks and going through the hardship. Something my dad always used to say, and probably still would say today, is that what's better, being born pure or curbing your chaotic nature.
Wow.
And overcoming, and becoming a good man after it, or a whole man, You know, it doesn't have to be good or bad.
Man, my dad never would have said that.
My dad's very.
He said, "Do what I say."
Yeah, he's very inspiring. He's very smart.
That's deep.
Yeah, he's a good guy. He was a boomer. So he
well, we had somebody else on the podcast this spring, Rob Bozard, who runs the South Carolina Ghostbusters, and
oh, nice.
Their beneficiary is Epworth.
That's
so,
awesome. Yeah. So I actually, I think I went on their website like pretty recently because I used to do that in Savannah. I used to ghost hunt. That was so fun. I immediately wanted to get.
Oh no, they're not ghost hunting. They dress up like Ghostbusters.
Oh.
Like the movie.
Like legit Ghostbusters.
Yeah. They have the whole car and the proton packs.
They've made proton packs for, they make their own proton packs. Like he brought one in. I got to actually turn it on and switch it on, and it hums and it vibrates when it goes on. It goes.
Dude, I gotta get him in the shop, man.
Dude,
easy.
That was a cool episode.
Yeah.
But he sat there on the couch with his proton pack right beside him.
He also they create little ghost models of a 3D printer.
Oh, nice.
Sell them at events.
But all their benefits go to the Epworth.
They probably were at the like there was that Comic-Con a few months back. I went there. Oh man, this was crazy. I went there for one person, and that was Gates McFadden.
Okay.
She played Beverly Crusher in Next Generation Star Trek.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah,
gotcha.
the redheaded woman.
Yep.
That is the most nervous I've ever been in my life. And I told everyone that I was going to ask her out on a date, and I felt really weird doing it when I'm standing next to her.
Yeah.
But then she said it to me.
Nice.
She was like, "Well, at least you didn't ask me out on a date." I was like, "Yeah, that would have been really weird."
That would have been awkward.
Like, so,
thank God I didn't do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's great. They had at that Comic-Con they had a full size Vigo painting from Ghostbusters 2.
I did actually. I actually did meet those people.
Yep.
They had that booth. They had the blow up thing.
Yep.
Like I do know what you're talking about.
He said his favorite Ghostbusters movie is Ghostbusters 2, which I think
strange.
Is really weird.
It's very odd. That's like Mortal Kombat 2.
He and I had this discussion about it, and Ghostbusters came out when I was 11, so it was like squarely marketed towards me.
Yeah.
And so
apparently that's the second most recognizable logo in the world.
I can imagine.
Yeah. It's Coca-Cola and the Ghostbusters.
I have unfortunately patterned a lot of my personality after Bill Murray in that movie, and that's not good.
I mean,
it's not the right way to do it.
Was that like Caddyshack? Like, I mean, as long as you're not getting into Caddyshack territory.
No, that's true. That's true. Yeah, I'm good. That's the smart Bill Murray.
Yeah.
The sarcastic, making comments on everything. So that works. Well, I have to admit, going back to the city council thing, I'm not really sure what city council does, if I'm being honest. Do you know what city council does?
Sure. They approve the ordinances. They tell you, okay, you can't build your fence more than 4 feet high here, and only 6 feet in the back, and we'll approve that road to be paved, and not this road, but that one.
Garbage pickup, kind of stuff.
Garbage pickup.
Yeah.
You get a lot of insider information.
Well, I knew they did that, but that's the main thing that they do is
lots of zoning. Like, this person wants to build a garage off their house, but it's more than 35 feet from the road, so are we going to approve this? Or, hey, this is a multi-family unit here, but they want to tear it down and put up retail space. Can we change this zoning? What are we going to do about the parade?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
It's just like smaller scale decision making, but also you get a good amount of information. Like they'll talk a lot about new businesses that are opening up, like economic development for Scout Motors. Like what's that actually going to look like? On a mass scale, that kind of stuff.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, that's good to know. I've been I'm considerably older than you are, but I've been very non-political for a very long time. So because of a lot of the same reasons.
And I'll still keep it to my chest as long as I can. Like
you're a business owner.
Yeah.
That's
amen to that, dude. Absolutely.
There's that too, and we had Lindsey Graham's campaign manager came down and talked to because they're in the same building. I'm like, I don't know who's coming in here. So it's
we're open to all people.
That's right.
We're very diverse.
I don't have any real political affiliation.
Diversity of thought is what we're looking
that's
for.
Right. That's
the
right.
thing, and even at this point in my life when I'm trying to dip my toes into it, it's a wild ride out there.
Yeah.
I mean, shoot, I probably gained most of my political knowledge through memes for many, many years.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that's definitely not a good way
That's
to
definitely
do
not the
it. Yeah. Because there is no apolitical meme.
No
So
way.
they all mean something. So that's really important.
The thoughts behind them.
Yeah, totally.
I'm gonna do some apolitical memes. They're gonna be Bill sitting in the chair going,
That's just
I like
apolitical.
That. I like that.
That's right.
I don't like my taxes. I like
right.
that.
I just have like a montage of me saying awesome because
Very cool.
I say awesome a lot, or I
Awesome.
say very cool.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
yeah. That's right. It's
Interesting.
It's not good. Well, and I tell you what's funny is, so when I was probably a teenager, a guy that looked like you had a very particular thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not saying that you were up to no good, but you know,
I was probably up to no good.
you walked into a party looking like that in
Yeah.
1988. You know, you're like, yeah, that guy's up to no good.
Oh, yeah.
You know, because so it's interesting for me to see the look come back. Because,
well, I
you know,
really do, like probably second, maybe even first favorite show of all time is Miami Vice.
Oh.
So like I really do try to like, bring out my inner Don Johnson.
Sure.
My
sure.
Crockett, Sonny
You need a
Crockett.
lot more pastels going on.
I know.
for
I see.
you.
That's where I draw the line.
Yeah,
now,
I didn't catch that one.
Yeah.
The face here though looks very Doc
No,
Holliday.
you're a guy on Miami Vice that they would meet at the place to find the other guy.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
definitely be
Right.
like the guy
The informant.
who had the drugs that gets brought down at
Right.
the end of the day, or an informant.
Yeah, they would catch you with the drugs and then they use you to get to the guy above
dude,
you.
that's it.
Yeah, that's your
I'd
role.
Be
Yeah.
On
crying
Miami Vice.
and in
Yeah.
the fetal position. Yeah, it'd be great.
I will say that I watched Miami Vice during COVID for the first time as an adult because
Yeah.
I watched it when it was on TV when I was 12.
Yeah.
And I didn't get it. Like me and my
Of
dad
course.
watched it. My dad loved it.
They had a cool car.
Had a
Oh,
cool
they
car.
had multiple cool cars,
had a great
yeah.
soundtrack.
Yeah.
Right.
So it was the first TV show that was ever filmed in using like movie cinematography.
Right.
And it
exactly.
had licensed music in it. So.
Yeah, and so watching it as an adult, I'm seeing all of the cameos that I didn't recognize.
Oh yeah, like Bruce Willis popping in there in
Yeah.
the early '80s.
Like
Yeah.
and there are all kinds of cameos in there that you just
Liam
like.
Neeson, he pops in there.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many of those that pop up, but also the plots are relatively like the same. That I didn't
They're
recognize.
undercover.
Yeah, they're undercover. This guy's got the thing they want. This other guy's got the thing to get us to that guy. So Don Johnson's got to pretend to be something.
Yeah.
And, it's like it's the
They're
whole thing.
undercover cops. So like
It was a CBS show.
I mean, look, it's
there's a formula to make it go every single day.
Yeah.
It's
every
one.
single week.
It's one of those though that I look back on it and say this was formative. My love of heavy metal basically
yeah.
came from my love of "In the Air Tonight."
Okay, yeah, no,
because
I get it.
"In the Air Tonight" is essentially a heavy metal song. It's about a guy killing another guy. It's in the same format as a lot of Black Sabbath and Iron Maiden songs. It's like it's a heavy metal song.
And that's how they did the pilot. Like with the long. So they did "In the Air" so they did Phil Collins for the for when they're going for their first shootout. And
Right.
it's like a long cinematic of them driving and
Yeah.
Tubbs has a shotgun and like it was some powerful stuff for back in the day.
Yeah.
We don't think anything of it now, but it's
Well, but like to have a scene where it's just the music and the guy driving. You know, it's like
I mean
there's
that was like unheard of.
There's
for
no
a
real
TV show.
motivated action going on. It's like I am totally with you. My favorite thing in that era of TV shows is the episodics where it's like we're traveling city to city and we're getting into a new adventure every time, like the A-Team. Like the
Oh,
A-Team
yeah,
would
yeah.
go from city to city, and we get into a new adventure every time. And Miami Vice was in the same spot over and over again.
And I respect any writers that can like actually pull that off because a lot of TV shows don't do that. They do like overarching storylines instead of like individual. But I'm a big X-Files fan too, and that was like just like that.
Similar, right? The Mulder and Scully are based in the same place, where they're going to a different place
Yeah,
every
it's a
time. So
different,
new cast of
cryptid
characters
or-
and
yeah.
new villain every time and all that kind of stuff. Knight Rider was the same.
Oh
way.
my
It's
gosh,
like
I
going
love Knight
city
Rider.
to city,
Yeah.
doing all that stuff. My wife and I have been watching Poker Face over the last year, and Poker Face is basically the same thing. She's on the run from the mob, so she's in a different city every time and meeting new people. Inevitably, somebody gets killed. She investigates the murder. She figures out who the murderer is, and then she skips town and moves on to the next town.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking if I'm her, I'm running into these murders every town I go to. I'm thinking
real?
it might be me.
Yeah, I would think that
You
it
know?
would be like you at that point.
Like
yeah,
I'm
at least
I'm
like,
the problem.
At least like with like X-Files, they at least have it on the back burner.
Right.
Like,
They're
you know,
being
in a filing
assigned.
cabinet. They're being assigned that.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's certainly very helpful.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Tell me about you had said you want your first shop to be in Columbia. What is your shop going to be? What is that?
Oh, so like my shop's already in Columbia.
The Gadget Boy is your shop.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
was talking about shop number one.
Is Gadget Boy. And
It-
then,
well,
and then
yeah,
we
that'll
move
be my
If
on.
he
baby. It'll be the
expands
original.
Gadget Boy to multiple locations, the number one location
Would
is
be Columbia.
Yeah, I'll still put like, you know, I'll still be there probably pretty full time even when I open up the second one. So
Well, if you need help finding some property, let me know.
yeah, I got you. Yeah. So we have somewhere right on, I think it's Church Street in Nashville. I haven't seen it yet, but it's like an old library, like, and they want to split it into two, put a perfume thing on one side, Gadget Boy on the other.
Okay,
So,
I gotcha.
yeah.
Have a perfume slash Gadget
Well,
Boy.
yeah, it'll be a whole separate shop. But
That way his partner can buy the whole building and,
Yes.
you know, lease
Ah.
it to his two separate companies.
Right.
That's how it works.
And then just
Yes.
keep the money cycling through.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Economics, man, financial literacy. It's so yeah. Like, I mean, right now, like my shop mainly focuses on like the repair, the retail, and then we do a lot of AI integration. Like we code so much in one day. I mean, we've been making CRMs and for all like just lead generators to if we need a part, it just scours the internet. Like we can program this stuff so easily now that we can make apps. Like, I mean, I would love to down the line like create something that I could even probably just get rid of like my accountant. And,
So
like,
talk a little bit about the progression of that. We talk a lot about AI around here, as probably almost everybody does. My standpoint is that the cat's out of the bag.
Yes.
There's no putting it back, no matter how upset we get about it.
Yeah.
it's
Like,
just happened already.
it's the same reason why like people complain about, you know, Amazon, but they still order from Amazon. Like it's their particular.
Or they complain about
experience of the
social
market.
media, but they're on social media all the time, right?
So I agree.
We, you know, looking at things like the Google video that just came out that's, you know, able to replicate human speech and movements. What's your perspective on, like my perspective is I need to know about it so that when it happens, I'm prepared. Talk about what your perspective is on it.
I got some good advice from my dad, you know, when I was first telling people about this. And basically, it's not something you ever want to try to scare anybody with. And I think that that's like what I think that that's what it gets thrown into a lot of time with tone and whatnot. So it's a tool like any other. It's just a very efficient tool. You hit the nail on the head. I think that the cat is already out of the bag. Now, whether or not society as a whole can have full access like it does right now the whole time is a little different, and I'm not really too sure what that looks like in the future, but I'd love to be a part of making the decision for that. It's asking the world's leading expert. It's when I'm designing something for AI, I think very small. Unbelievably small. It's not the big stuff that's going to turn the world upside down. It's the small stuff. Like this water bottle, you know, it had a QR or it had a like a barcode on it at one point. Like when I think about AI and when I think about how mass this shift in technology and interfacing is going to look like, everything is outdated. Even barcodes. I can get my Meta glasses right here. I can make a code, which I've done this before, that connects to my POS system at the shop, and I don't need to scan anything. I just need to look at it, and it just knows what it is.
Right.
Like it's so. When I think simply about AI, and when I'm designing it, like I think very small. When I'm using AI, very broad, massive. Like I think people are still confused about things because they're still talking to AI like they're talking to Google. When you can just talk like you're talking to, like it'll pick it up. It's the world's leading expert. I don't think that the knowledge is truly out there yet of how to use it, and I think that knowledge is that it's a negative thing.
Yeah.
So I agree with what the CEO of Fiverr said when he sent an email out to all of the artists and said, hey, I'm really sorry, which, it is a perspective thing. If you're not on board with AI, you should probably start looking into it.
Yep.
Because it is inevitable in some senses, but I don't think that most people realize what it's going to look like. And that's where my expertise tends to come into play.
Yeah.
Your Windows, and your Apple operating system that you're used to, or your iPhone, your interface, all that's going to change. It's going to be completely and utterly tailored towards you. Yeah. And that's going to be with every sense of technology. And everything is already connected. So when I walk into my shop, by the end of next month, this is the project I'm currently working on. By the end of next month, I'm going to be able to walk into my shop. I can say a word, and my executive AI assistant is going to completely and utterly talk to me, and it's going to tell me about my account information, my operating account. It's going to tell me about events. It's going to text me goodnight. It's my shop is going to talk to me like a regular person would, and I'm going to tell it to add, this to my calendar on this, or hey, there's an email from Bill Grant. Do you mind answering that for me? That's how I answered your email.
I heard the chairman of Ford Motor Company talk this week about Ford.
Yeah.
And he said if the Chinese cars are ever available for sale in the U.S., we're sunk. He said because the Chinese cars are so far beyond what the American cars are capable of, because they have integrated the cell phone technology into the car. So when you get in the car becomes the phone. Mm-hmm. And so it knows based on your RFID who you are. It knows where your seat should be. Yeah. It knows what you like to have in your preferences. It understands a lot of things that American cars or cars available in the U.S. don't understand right now. And I think we look at all of it as scary because those of us that grew up in the age of Terminator and and the Matrix, we assume that it's going to be robotic spiders taking over, and I don't think that's necessarily how it's going to go.
No.
But if Brian and I are both car enthusiasts, we just love cars. If I have a self-driving car, or if I have a self-driving car available to me, and all I have to do is call for it, and it's there within seconds, and I don't have to own a car.
You don't have to pay for it.
I don't have to pay for the car. I don't have to, I mean, I think a lot of that are conveniences that we'll all probably really appreciate at some point. Never in my life thought I'd have a computer in my hand, I mean, for a long time. And we've gotten used to it now, but it's revolutionary technology. And I think that's what we're headed towards.
In the 60s, when computers were coming out and they were starting to integrate themselves into, some of American businesses, the increase in people going to mental asylums was dramatic because they thought technology was taking over.
Right.
So, it's such a the entire, the computer took up an entire room, but I could only imagine that there would be, of course, pushback to it, but it's already out there. Microsoft and Google were in a race and they really, really pushed for it. So, it's out there, but I think that there's a silver lining. I think no one knows how to use it.
Not yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think
we are literally internet 1999 is where we're at right now.
I have a server at my shop right now that we built, and it basically can create anything on the fly, program-wise. If I wanted it, this is just an example, I wouldn't do this, but if I wanted it to say, I need you to create 50 really crappy but highly addictive gambling games, and then only put them on Romanian servers, it'll pump that out every day for you.
Yeah. I think the prompts are going to become the currency of the future, is understanding how to prompt it and all that.
That's an interesting way to put it, because I do actually find myself saving prompts because it does, for me, it's the coding. I don't care about the picture generation. I don't care about I like the spreadsheet stuff. Microsoft Word is going to Microsoft 365 is going to change so dramatically because they have to. But it's the code. It's the coding that's actually going to change it.
Yeah.
It used to take people years to create apps. I can create an app in I can create an app right now.
Because coding stinks. I
Coding
hate it.
sucks, but the code is there and it's available.
Yeah.
Like it's
Well, my degree's in computer science, so like for 2 years, all I did was write code, and I hated it.
yeah.
And I didn't realize I hated it until I got into it, and I was too late. But,
That
like,
sounds rough. I mean,
Yeah.
I can see what it's doing. I'd never wrote any code.
Yeah, it's never a lot of fun. Well, listen, thank you so much for doing this, man. We end up every podcast with 5 questions. For you, the first one is, which is your favorite Star Trek cast?
Ooh.
I have a guess based on the tattoo on your arm, but
Okay, that's fine. I'm going to tell you probably right now. It's probably wrong. Voyager. I think
Really?
Janeway is the superior captain.
okay.
I think that she is perfect, and but Geordie LaForge is my favorite character.
Okay.
He's the Reading Rainbow guy.
Right.
Yeah, he's the guy with the visor.
Almost everything I've learned about newer Star Trek, I've learned from The Big Bang Theory. So
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
I don't really know
That's
much about
probably
it.
heresy.
Yeah.
Like,
It probably is. You're right. But obviously I don't, I don't know much about the newer cast. And I think when I was a little kid, you had to kind of choose between Star Trek and Star Wars.
yeah.
And I went Star Wars. And so
I think
almost
most people
kind of
did because
rejected
it's
it.
easier to watch. You
Yeah.
know, it'd probably take someone about a year to probably watch all of the old series.
Well, they were really good in 1983.
They were all,
Just not-
all of them are phenomenal.
Not now.
Yeah.
But I mean, they were back then. That's awesome. Tell me about music. What's your favorite band?
Oh, you'd probably be able to guess this. Billy Idol, Hall & Oates,
Wow.
Duran.
Okay.
Like that's where I'm at.
80s?
Yeah.
Weird.
I know.
Okay.
Massive. Absolutely.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I am a huge Billy Idol fan, so
Yeah.
I'm right there with you. Steve Stevens is an incredible guitar player.
He's a badass man.
So that's great. Favorite movie?
2001: A Space Odyssey.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely. But also, I really like Blade Runner as well.
Well, I was going to say in the 60s, people were paranoid about technology taking over because Blade Runner was a very popular book.
Yeah.
And,
Do androids dream of electric sheep?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
I read that pretty recently.
So I will say that for many years, I watched 2001: A Space Odyssey until the monkey threw the bone up into
Slow
the air,
movie, yeah.
and it turned into the spaceship, and I fell asleep somewhere around in there.
Ooh, man.
And
it's
and
a
so
slow burn, but
what I
worked.
did was I started it right there. I skipped the whole monkey part. I started it right there, and I didn't fall asleep, and I watched all the way through. I have no idea what that movie's about.
Yeah, I got you, man. It's even the book is very confusing.
I am a
and
relatively smart person, and
Yeah.
I do not get it.
I understand it now, but I liked the cinematography. I liked the
Yes.
music. You know, it was.
Oh, it's a very singular style.
Stanley Kubrick in general is just my favorite, a director. So
And certainly he got the moonshot gig from 2001. So
Absolutely.
I mean, if he did, allegedly, he faked the moon landing, but whatever. That's
anyone could do it,
allegedly.
he
I'm
could
not
do it,
saying.
man.
Yeah. Probably didn't. It was probably real. But if he did, he got it from that movie. So what's that? Is
Favorite
that
dessert?
3? What's your favorite
Oh,
dessert?
dude, no comparison. Since I don't drink or drug or anything, there is this type of Talenti's ice cream. It's peanut butter and chocolate, and I don't care what any doctor says. Like, if they tell me to stop eating it, I'm probably scorched earth.
It's good for your soul.
It's literally like the alternative is like, I could be in the fetal position.
Heroin.
Yeah, heroin. So, like,
That's it. That's right. You just tell the doctor that.
that's literally
listen,
what
doc.
it
It's
is.
I'm
either
doing this or I'm doing heroin.
Just stay
Yeah.
away from the LDL levels, man. Like, I don't care. Like,
Don't test those. That's my theory.
Yeah.
Is that if I don't get a
Out of sight,
cholesterol
out of
test,
mind.
it's no problem. That's awesome. Last one. Favorite season of the year.
season of the year. Shoot. I don't like the cold. Dude, probably like right now, summertime.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice. That's Brian's favorite.
Yeah,
That's,
I'll jeans it up in the humidity all year, man. I don't care.
that's awesome. Well, Fox, thank you so much for doing this, man. This is really great. Thanks
course.
for talking.
Yeah, thanks for having me, y'all. If y'all ever need anything, Gadget Boy is right down the street.
Definitely.
Yeah.